Hello, everyone. I have got an amazing book to launch at the moment. I have been traveling around. As you can see, this is the beautiful scenery that I have here, and I am here to interview the beautiful Sarah Jane Perri. How are you this morning, Sarah?
Not as good as you, Susan. Not as good as you, but I'm. My background is a little different. It's my couch, but still doing well, and yeah, excited to have this conversation with you.
Fantastic. And I'm excited because this is something that is really interesting. And although when you're in it, I'm sure that a lot of people you may feel know about it, but I know for me it was something that was really intriguing and new. And so I think that a lot of people, are always looking for new and different things to be interested in and find different ways to better their life. And that's what I think will be really exciting for the people today listening to this book launch. So, the name of the book is Your Spine Holds the Answer, the stories that you've been carrying. So, first of all, congratulations on writing a really deeply informative book that discusses a topic many people may not even be, as I said, familiar with. The story in the spine, quite interesting. Now, you first began as a chiropractor after a degree in psychology, and you ended up pioneering a new modality called spinal energetics. I think a lot of people are going to be interested in finding out a bit more about this spinal energetics. Can you take us on a little bit of the backstory of spinal energetics and how it's unique in comparison to some of the other healing modalities?
Yeah, for sure. I think, look, one thing it has in common with other healing modalities is that it's there as as an opportunity to get to know yourself better, to be have a deeper relationship with yourself and something bigger than yourself, and also a deeper relationship with the communication that your body is expressing. So that's the main thing that we have in common. I guess the way we go about it or the journey is different. So the destination is somewhat similar in the sense that hopefully there's a stronger understanding about why your body and your mind might be behaving a certain way or doing certain things that might seem a little bit problematic, such as back pain or neck pain, all these things that we're experiencing in life today, from also the physical pain to emotional stress, all of these things that I think majority of us can relate to now. But the journey is different, and the journey that we take is through the spine directly. And I think the education that most of us have about the spine currently is, oh, you can only go there if you're in physical pain. Like if you were to see a traditional chiropractor, maybe you've hurt your back, you've hurt your neck, and that's kind of where the scope of practice kind of ends, or the scope of understanding ends. Whereas spinal energetics is more about the mind and body connection. How has your experiences, your emotional experiences, your life experiences had an impact in how your physical body is responding or your physical body is communicating? So that's kind of the main premise of it, but also our energetic body. So we're working off the body directly with the spine and with the energetic field, which is something that is a little bit more foreign to people these days. And that's why we wanted to create this book as well, so that people had a little bit more of an opportunity to develop an understanding of the relationship between the spine and the energetics of ourselves, and how the spine can really be this gateway for, I guess, not just health in general, but almost a whole nother catalyst for another dimension that we're not even aware of spiritually or within our consciousness as well. So I think that is something that's a little bit different, and we've tried to create it so that anyone and everyone can pick up this book and have somewhat of an understanding of the relationship between our spine and something bigger.
I absolutely love that because I really do truly believe that we don't understand how we store emotions in our body. And we think that, okay, chiropractic, spinal energetics, this could be something typically where you work with people with a bad back and things like that. But I know that you work with a lot of people with chronic pain. And so people might think relation to the spine or chiropractic, that's where they'll go. But I do love the fact that you talk about in the book as well how we store emotional or mental pain in the body. Can you share a little bit of sometimes we might have physical or mental or emotional pain that it physically feels like pain. So, our thought might go, "Oh, I've got a really bad shoulder. I must have hurt it when I was doing gym, or I must have done something like that." Versus through your spinal energetics and your modality, realizing that this is the emotional pain. Tell me what happens with some of your clients that may come to you and tell you, "I think I've hurt this," or whatever it is, and you find it different.
I think the key thing that you said is chronic pain. So pain that's ongoing despite maybe addressing the physical causation. So let's say you I don't know, hurt it at the gym, just like you just said in your example, and you went and you saw either your physio or a myotherapist or your chiropractor, osteopath, whoever it might be. And if it's not improving and it's starting to come from acute to chronic pain, why is that? Why isn't it on the trajectory of improvement if you're, say, young or healthy or all of these other things? So really the common denominator that we see is that there's been a level of tension that's attributed to the body's pain. And what creates that tension is either emotional stress or mental anguish. So we're looking at pain that's outside of just a pure physical causation. Like if you fell down the stairs and you broke your leg, spinal energetics is going to be a pretty limited experience for you. But with pain disorders, say like fibromyalgia or even gut disorders, things like that, that relate to an emotional or mental causation, they're really kind of what we're looking at here. And you can see that even in the traditional system in terms of how they work with those things. A lot of people with maybe IBS or things like that, they get like gut hypnosis, so that there's some kind of connection with the mind and the gut. Things like fibromyalgia, they can see areas in the body lighting up with real pain, but no actual physical causation for the pain. And one of the treatments for that is, say, an antidepressant or an SSRI. So for that, in order to work, means that there has to be a connection with the mental, with the emotional. So there's already connections out there, but it's like, what else can we do besides maybe needing to take medication for the rest of our lives? What else can we do that possibly can assist us? And I think understanding that the mind and body aren't separate, which we are all aware of, but still there's just a little gap in our understanding. When something hurts us physically, we still automatically assume it just has to be a physical reason or root cause.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. For some people that have been dealing with chronic pain or are looking for an alternative, this book is really going to highlight and educate them. And I remember in one of my very first self-development courses, I had such pain in my stomach that I went to the leaders and said, "I think I've got appendicitis. I feel like you need to call an ambulance." That was when I first understood emotional pain can be physical pain, because the pain was so severe. I literally thought they should call an ambulance. And the moment that I worked through that emotion, it was instantly disappeared. And I was like, wow, pain can be emotional and not just that it feels physical. But that release, soon as I released, it was instantly gone. So I think this is something that is untapped by a lot of people that maybe haven't gone down this course that we have, where we're developing and learning and things like that. And I think that this book is going to be fantastic for that. I know in your book you revealed some really deeply emotional, personal experiences. Your mum's medical condition, some of your personal traumas from multiple miscarriages, divorce, and quite complex grief. How did these experiences manifest in your spine, and how do you how do you deal with such complicated life events that come at us?
I think everyone's going to have moments in their life where they have to address them, or they will end up turning into something possibly physically within the body. And for me, I think it was important to share my personal explorations in this and experiences, because there's no point giving the impression that I've had like this perfect life and everything's gone to plan, but this is how I came up with this healing modality. It doesn't make sense. Anyone who works in this field or has an extreme interest or passion or whatever you want to call it, a dedication to helping others, means that there's been something in their own life where they've required that level of help. And for me, with my mum, it was a challenge for a long time because I thought, how can I create this modality and help all these people but not help my own mother? And that's something to think about as well. This isn't something that fixes everything. It's not that premise, but it's the premise to open up a missing piece that maybe you haven't thought of yet in your journey. And my mum had an extraordinary life with also her own traumas. And we can't be certain, but if you look at someone's work like Gabor Mate, there's quite a clear relationship with what she experienced in life and the health condition that she ended up acquiring, which was a neurological health condition. Everyone in her family, there's a lineage, so to speak, of nervous system disorders. So from MS to Parkinson's to all of these things. And yes, there may be a genetic predisposition, but we're aware now that with genetics that there's an opportunity to have them switch on or off as well. So what's happening in our life? What can we control? How can something like spinal energetics change the way that we're apparently destined to have in our life? So for me, that was important. And bless my mum, she's an amazing person, but she never really worked on that part of herself. That was something that was quite painful for her. So move onwards and upwards and kind of ignore it and then just keep going. And this is really an invitation to take another route, which is instead of feeling like you have to be strong all the time and ignoring the communication, why don't we be strong and listen to it and see what we can do with that to help us in our lives emotionally, personally, but also physically. So it's unfortunate we have these events that happen that tend to be our biggest lessons. And even for me, having my own experiences with miscarriages, that was a real challenge too, because that's really when I realized we're not a problem to be solved, because it's unexplained. Just as an example, like it could be immune this, it could be that. We don't know. But what I do know is that it doesn't shock me that's something that I've experienced in my life either, based on my history. So I think it's important to utilize these experiences as a way to not only help yourself, because you need to, otherwise, what's the path forward? What kind of person do I want to be moving forward? But also to help the world in a greater capacity, because these experiences, although unique to me, they're not unique to humanity. So everyone has a story whether they've had a loved one become ill or sick, or they themselves have experienced their own health experiences based upon just being human. And how can we connect meaning or understanding to not just alter it, but to understand it?
Yeah, I absolutely love that, because really it's just giving us another way, another modality to explore, that we could be, like you said, dealing with something and go down the typical route of medicating or just talking. Sometimes there is other ways or combined ways where we can start looking at releasing those things and getting that support so that we can continue on no matter what life throws at us, because life is going to throw stuff at us. But I also love the fact that you said sometimes I think the older generation weren't as open to exploring some of these things. But now I think we are. And I think what's so great about that is people like yourself that have gone and written this book to educate others that may not be around to know that even things like spinal energetics exist. And writing all these personal stories allows people to see, it's like you said, well, you know that you've experienced, as I've experienced, when we store emotion in our body and what it's like to then release that. What was it like, that publishing journey for you? What challenged you the most or surprised you the most with just writing this book?
I think for me, what was challenging was like kind of where to start and how to articulate it in a way that makes sense to anyone and everyone. Because there's a lot of people kind of in this health and wellness community where this kind of concept isn't necessarily new, but how can they have a deeper understanding? And then how can someone who's completely, maybe just starting their experience with something like this and have it written for them too? So it's like, how can it meet both kind of readers at the same time, and push one but also introduce for another. So that was kind of a little bit of a challenge getting that balancing act, which is why you guys were so brilliant for me, because sometimes I would write something and that would be like, that's great, but I think that's a little bit maybe where we're at yet. I don't think we've got them there yet. So I had the guidance to go, oh, okay, we're not at that concept just yet. So kind of how to introduce the concepts, when was the right moment to do that, and how deep to go into it, how to just maybe plant a seed in other ways. So it was, yeah, that was the learning experience for me. I love writing. I loved the concept of the book, but yeah, it was how to say things that are difficult to kind of translate and put into words.
Yeah, I love that because when that's what we do, because we love learning as well. And so we want to make sure that the readers are understanding this, from the basic people to, like you said, the people that are wanting to advance themselves. And I absolutely love it. An amazing book. We're going to put the link below for people to grab this book. But you've also then taken it to another level of how do you take this knowledge that you've got this modality that can help so many, but there's only one of you, the beautiful Sarah Jane Perri, but you've trained others now, in hundreds of people in spinal energetics, to become practitioners all around the world, and so that you can help even more people. You have then released this book, which is great. Towards the end of the book, you talk about the future of medicine
Yeah.
and how mixing the mind and the soul, the East and the West, the modern and the ancient medicine in a new frontier. Can you say more on this and how your work is making a difference? And like I said, maybe just touch on, if someone is interested in this, you actually train people in this as well.
Yeah, we just trained our 1000th practitioner this last week, actually. So we've got
Wow.
1,000 or so around the world now, which is really was really important to me. The whole reason I wanted to teach was exactly what you said, so that it could reach anyone and everyone. So me having a busy clinic in Melbourne, yes, there's a ripple effect to that, of course, but I really wanted something where this could touch people who needed it. We've got practitioners in Kenya. We've got practitioners who are working with local village women and what they're experiencing there. We've got practitioners just in the most interesting places, Egypt. We've got practitioners all over Europe. We've got them all over America. We're about to do a training in Mexico, all over Australia as well, Indonesia, Japan, Singapore, just in all these beautiful countries which have so much diversity, but also so much interconnectedness. And really, that's what spinal energetics is about. It's about less separation and more about our connection to each other. And also less separation even between the medical systems. So less separation between Eastern and Western. And like you said before, instead of feeling like we have to make a choice, like is it medication or is it this? How can we blend the intelligence of both systems to honor our clients and ourselves? And that's what I meant by the new way forward with this work. And it's almost a new way forward, but honoring the old. And so it's an interesting kind of concept with that. But also the idea of energetics is still quite new for Westerners in terms of how that can really benefit us and benefit our well-being. We're starting to look more into the nervous system, and all of these concepts are starting to be introduced. Things like fight or flight or sympathetic dominance or the vagus nerve. We're starting to have these I guess deeper understandings of why having nervous system health is so important. And I'm hoping spinal energetics really gauges that, but also gauges the energetic health as well, and how that really is a missing piece right now for us in society, especially Western society.
I absolutely love that. And look, it's been intriguing to see. I'll just touch quietly because I know that if anyone is looking up spinal energetics and they're wanting to find a practitioner, that's great. They can look out for the name of spinal energetics trained. Sometimes they'll see when you're doing it that the body moves
Yeah.
with energy. Not with everyone, and it doesn't matter, or you enlighten me, it doesn't matter if the body moves a lot or it doesn't move a lot and things like that. But some people might go, oh, that's a little bit scary or freaky. Talk to that a little bit, just so that if someone is starting to research this and they've read your book and they're really educated, I think that when we are in chronic pain or we're in this emotional block, I think that we're a little bit more open to try different things. But I know for some people, they go, whoa, that's a bit freaky. Talk to that a little bit.
I think for me, it's just something we're not used to seeing. And we're not really aware that it's a possible movement or a possible expression of self. But it's because we're so conditioned as a society to have certain responses at certain times. If you show children, they don't really feel any way about it. And the reason I think children don't feel any way about it is because they're free. They express. When they're angry, it comes out. When they're hungry, it comes out. I want this. No, I don't. Da da. You'll see them throwing a tantrum on the floor. Whatever. They're not fazed by what things look like, but also it makes sense to them in regards to a movement of emotion or an outward expression of energy. If they are having a tantrum on the floor, they like kick their arms and kick their legs and all of these things. And that's energy that's moving, that's going, it's shifting. And what we have to think about, just as on that example, is like, what are the times in our life where we've kind of wanted to throw a tantrum, just as an example, and we haven't? And we're standing there still and smiling. Like, so where does that go? Where's the dissipation for it? And spinal energetics is essentially an opportunity for that dissipation, that built up, that never got to actually shift or move based on our conditioning. If you look at animals, if they come up against, like my dog, if I'm walking him down the street and there's another dog he doesn't like, they might bark and they might come towards each other and then they kind of shake it off and walk and keep moving. But they have this kind of bodily expression of what that experience was, and they shift so they can move forward. Whereas we keep everything in because we don't want to look a certain way or appear a certain way, which you see already just off the judgments off the videos. Oh, that looks like this, that looks like that. So again, it's just social conditioning. But if you take this work to, say, India, where I've worked before, there's not really as much, it's more sensical to them because maybe they've got the energy systems and their spiritual beliefs in their kind of day-to-day of living already. Whereas, say, somewhere like Australia, where we're quite regimented about right and wrong ways of doing things or right ways of saying things or expressing appropriateness, then there's challenges to it. But
Yeah, I love the way that you say that because it's so true. And half the reason we've got this pain because we're pushing it down, half the reason that we're not releasing everything is because we're conforming and we're trying to not look bad or trying to look a certain way. I love the way that you say that. Sometimes, even in expressive dance, you're releasing and you feel better because you've got movement. You're using that physical movement to release. And if we don't get in our head and we just let our body do what it's wanting to do, sometimes it is that moving your arms when you scream, or it's that releasing that emotion, and your body just feels like, oh my gosh, it's released. I love the way that you explain that because we get in our head instead of just letting our body do what it's meant to do and release and without getting in our head. So I think that a lot of people are going to be enlightened by this book. It's written for those that, like you said, you might know a little bit about this and want to get and understand it a little bit more. And it's for those that are intrigued to find out, and they may be suffering and looking for another way to work in with what's happening. Spinal energetics, it's an amazing modality that I believe, people need to know more about and start exploring. So thank you so much. Your spine holds the answer, the stories that you've been carrying. Amazing book. We're going to put the link below for people to purchase it. Thank you so much, Sarah, for, really putting your heart, your soul into this book, your personal stories, your wealth of knowledge, and for educating all these practitioners so that you can have this ripple effect around the world in helping people to release and live their best life. So we appreciate you, and I can't wait till all these people get this book in their hand and start learning a little bit more about this.
thanks, Susan. Thanks for, really supporting me and the work and the ideas. I know it's probably not a book that you've ever worked on before. So, thank you for trailblazing it with me. It's been a really beautiful journey.
Beautiful. Thanks so much. Link below, everyone. Grab a copy, grab one for a friend, and thank you again. Bye for now.
Thanks, Susan.